what does G7 or the group of nations called G7 hope to achieve or get out of India? And it's a huge deal for Africa. And because of G20 today, in G7 you have the leader of the African Union, the head of state of Mauritania. He's there representing 55 member countries. So when the world talks about reasons for fighting China or reasons for standing up to China or people who have the reason and the means both, the motivation to do it, that is India. Jai Hind friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. It is G7 that is the flavor of the season. Everybody is talking about G7. You know, there are so many things that are happening. Why has India been invited to the G7? Which are the other countries, you know, apart from the permanent members of the G7 who have been invited? What is the reason for inviting them? What does Prime Minister Modi hope to achieve from this G7? And, you know, what does G7 or the group of nations called G7 hope to achieve or get out of India? So there is a lot of stuff happening, and today I'll just tell you the brief background. So friends, the Prime Minister will be traveling to Italy on Fasano in Puglia region at the Borgo Egnazia resort. So apparently this is a super luxury resort in Italy and all the leaders are being hosted there. And the Prime Minister of India will be staying there. And this is his first international visit, what people know as Modi 3.0, or his third stint as the Prime Minister of India. And in his statement, he said, Prime Minister Modi said, we remain committed to consolidate the India-Italy strategic partnership and bolster cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. So these are catchwords. Cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. This is the anchor of this entire statement and the Mediterranean regions. Right? So India is working very closely with Greece, India is working very closely with France, India is working very closely with Italy, and India is trying to work closely with the UK, but there seems to be some political instability there. Let's see what happens in the UK, but India is trying. And it has been largely successful in its diplomatic overtures. Now, who are the world leaders who are attending the G7? It's important. And then I'll tell you who are the people who have been invited. Of course, the permanent members will be attending. And the permanent members are United States of America, represented by Joe Biden. Japan, represented by Fumio Kishida. Canada, represented by Justin Trudeau, our good friend Justin. Germany by Olaf Scholz, France by Emmanuel Macron, and Britain by Rishi Sunak. So these are the world leaders who are there for the G7 summit. And the other people who are invited are, of course, from the Vatican City, Pope Francis is very important. He is the leader of the entire Catholic world, and the Catholics all over the world look up to him. Christians in general, actually, look up to Pope Francis, and is a very, very strong diplomatic figure, and any Pope for that matter. A very strong geopolitical and a diplomatic figure also. Apart from being a religious figurehead, they're also very strong diplomatically and geopolitically. What I'm trying to say is what the Pope says matters. So he should not be just taken as a religious leader. He's much, much more than that. King of Jordan, Abdullah bin al-Hussein, Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, India, Narendra Modi ji, Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, Argentina, Javier Milei, Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Kenya, William Ruto, Algeria, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Tunisia, Kais Saied, United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and African Union. This presidency is held by Mauritania now. It's Mohammed Ould Ghazani. So, what is the agenda of the G7? We'll briefly discuss the agenda and then we will talk about what they want from India and what India wants from them. So, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats. And here it is. So, they're talking about a rules-based international system or order. And they always talk about a rules-based international system or order because they feel that supply chains are interlinked, interests are interlinked, and the economic system today is no longer isolated. Everybody depends on everybody. So if a major power goes to war or something like that happens, if there is political or economic instability in a region, it always impacts the other region. You see, if something, God forbid, happens in the American stock market, it will adversely impact India. And if something, God forbid, happens in the Indian stock market, it's going to impact Europe. That is how supply chains are. That is how financial interests are nowadays. So they're saying a rules-based international order oblique system and Russia's aggression towards Ukraine is a matter of great concern for everybody. Also, what is happening in the Middle East. They're talking about strengthening partnerships with developing nations, especially in Africa. So where does this Africa thing come from, ladies and gentlemen? It comes from the fact that India, during its presidency of the G20, actually invited and got the African Union to be a permanent member of the G20. Now, how does this help? This helps because suddenly Africa, a continent that is not known for, let us say, its economy, it's not known for political stability, suddenly gets plugged into global supply chains and the global economy. And it's a huge deal for Africa. And because of G20 today, in G7, you have the leader of the African Union, the head of state of Mauritania. He's there representing 55 member countries. So Africa is very, very important. And why is Africa important? And why is suddenly Africa the flavor of the season? It is also because vast mineral wealth, oil, gold, copper, zinc, you name it, diamonds, you name it. Apart from that, natural resources, water, food, and also the need for democratic nations to counter China. China is spreading its wings very, very rapidly across the African continent. And China must be stopped at all costs. Because what China is going to do is, China is like this predator. It hooks its fangs into a body and sucks out all nutrients, killing the body. And this is exactly what China is doing to Africa. If Africa has to be saved, China must be circumvented, China must be isolated from Africa and the rest of the world also. China is extremely dangerous to the health of this world. Now, they've spoken about, food security, climate change, migration, and implications of artificial intelligence for humanity. So they're saying that there are 6 basic principles of AI, or ethical AI principles, if I may: transparency, inclusion, responsibility, impartiality, reliability, and security/privacy. So this is what AI is based on, or should be based on. And we have some data for you, which is quite interesting. ChatGPT has an IQ. We use ChatGPT. At least some of us do. It has an IQ of 155. So somebody apparently measured the IQ of ChatGPT and they said it is 155. Albert Einstein had an IQ of 160. The current iteration of ChatGPT, the current version that we are using, has an IQ of 155, just 5 points below Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein's IQ, they say, was 160. But they're saying that ChatGPT version 5, its IQ will be 1,550. You can imagine. What an exponential jump. So what happens? What happens when artificial intelligence becomes self-learning and self-aware? Will it have a mind of its own? Now, this is not within the realms of, impossibility. It can happen. Sure, it can happen. And this is something that the world leaders have. In fact, Vatican has spoken about this. Spoken about ethical use of artificial intelligence. So they are saying that artificial intelligence may deliver an additional economic output of around 13 trillion by 2030, increasing global GDP by about 1.2% annually. So this is something that people are talking about. AI is the flavor of the season. And now about, what they expect from India and what India can expect. So there are 2-3 things. First, India is essentially seen as a bulwark against China, especially in the Indo-Pacific area. India has been active in the Arabian Sea, in anti-piracy operations. India has never done these kind of sustained maritime operations over such a long period of time. I'm not talking about war. I'm talking about peacetime operations at such a scale. India has never done it. Dozens of ships. I don't know if submarines were involved. I don't know, because the media is not discussing it, but I'm sure they might have put a couple of submarines here and there. But destroyers certainly, frigates certainly. maybe not aircraft carrier moving around. And India gave safe passage to global trade. So India is now being looked at as a responsible partner, a net security provider in the Indo-Pacific. And this is exactly what Minister Rajnath Singh said, the Defense Minister of India. And it's a big deal. When you say that India is the net security provider in the Indo-Pacific, or the Indian Ocean region for that matter, it's a big deal. And this is exactly what India has been doing. So when the world talks about reasons for fighting China, or reasons for standing up to China, or people who have the means to do it, the reason and the means both, the motivation to do it, that is India. There is no other country in the Indo-Pacific which will stand against China. It's only India that has mobilized hundreds and thousands of troops, its warships, everything to counter China. Now, we have a mirror deployment as far as China is concerned on the line of actual control. And the world is seeing this. They're saying India is willing and able to take on China. This is what the world wants from India. It also wants from India's markets. Because when Indians go, they'll buy. When the Indian Prime Minister goes, there are billions of dollars of deals that are signed, and everybody wants to plug in to the world's fastest growing large economy. According to IMF, India will grow, at an annualized rate of 8% plus. I'm talking about GDP growth. This is phenomenal. This is phenomenal by any standards. This is phenomenal. And India is growing, and India has done very well for itself, and everybody wants to plug into that success story. And what is actually bothering the G7 nations? It is the proximity of China with Russia. That is what is giving them a headache. So this is something that they'll be watching out for, and they're going to discuss all of this, but mostly trade. And as far as Prime Minister Modi is concerned, his overriding passion is, of course, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India. So which G7 country is there which can give India technology, which can partner with India and say that, okay, we are setting up these factories in India and we want to make in India. This is something that, people are really, really looking forward to, and the Indians are looking forward to, and this is what India wants to bring to the table. A larger role in global affairs, Make in India, and plugging into various technologies like AI, and whatever is happening in the world. India is keeping a very, very close watch, and this is why Prime Minister Modi has gone to the G7. Ladies and gentlemen, now I'll take a few questions. The first question is from Pramod Kumar. Can you give us some information of AMCA jets? So you're talking about the 5th generation. There is no information right now. The government has given 15,000 crore rupee funds, which is slightly less than $2 billion, and it's still some time away. It'll take a decade. Though they plan to have prototypes in the next 5 odd years, 6 years, but by the time it actually comes into the Indian Air Force, it's going to be at least a decade. Apart from that, there is no update on the AMCA. Koteshwar Rao says a brand new Tejas Mark 1 4.5 generation cost 532 crores. Why buy each Mirage 2000 with 30% life left for 500 crores each? Koteshwar Rao, good question, but again, which has a very, very simple answer. Tejas is running behind schedule. And the Air Force has gone to the government saying that we need jets today. We need them right now. Even if they have only 30% or 40%. I cannot say about the percentage. I have not calculated the percentage, so I'll not speak about that. But yes, these are not brand new. These are second-hand jets, but they are Mirage 2000. They're excellent. This is something that India can work with because our Air Force has flown those jets. And third, the Air Force needs jets today. They don't need the jets after 10 years. They need them right now because the problem we are facing is right now. This is exactly why we bought 36 Rafales, because we need them right now. So we can't wait, irrespective of the life. We need serviceable jets today. And, this 500 crores we are getting with complete system. I mean, these are fully loaded with ammunition, everything. So we'll get them. And I think it's a good deal for the Indian Air Force. Murkri. The French planes are supposedly big gas guzzlers and very expensive to operate. Is this true? Every fighter jet is very expensive to operate. And if it's a twin engine, right? If it's a twin engine jet, it will be expensive. Nothing in Forge is cheap. Everything is expensive. That is the nature of defense. Everything is big ticket. Everything is, if you're talking about French jets, if you're talking about the Mirage 2000, of course, nothing is cheap. And You run aircraft carriers which are diesel based. Are they cheap to run? No. You have destroyers and frigates. Are they cheap to run? No. You have sorties every day happening in the Indian Air Force. Are they cheap to do? Absolutely not. This is the price you pay for national security. And I don't think we should be counting pennies here, because this is the nation's insurance policy. We count pennies, we'll be stuck in a very, very bad jam later. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.